Hi, everybody. I'm going to make a video. I don't know what it's going to be about other than me doing some beadwork, but I just thought it's unscripted, obviously. I'm just going to take you through some typical day in the life of some beading. So I will do the share screen function so you can see what I'm a doing. And there we go. I spoke about this piece last time I made a video recently, and what it is going to be a multi-layered thing. It's got two components to it already. These are just raw materials for it. Some things I started, not sure I'm going to use or whatever. And I am pretty much convinced that I want to make this both wearable and available to put on a wall. So if I want to make it wearable, it's going to be kind of like a shawl going around the shoulders. So I need to make this piece and this piece much bigger. So I have the beads for this piece out right now, so that's what I will do in front of you. Let's see here. Which side do I want to start on? The side with an unfinished edge. See this, the way this goes? Oops, it slopes down and it doesn't continue. That's my restarting spot. So off I go. I've got a short piece of thread. I don't like to waste thread. I'd rather spend money on beads, not thread. So I'm going to use this shortish piece of thread. And what better day to do beadwork than on a cold, rainy day? Actually, any day is a good day to do beadwork. The great thing about a non-cold, rainy day is that you can do beadwork outside, and it's so low tech, you don't even need electricity if the sun's shining and you can see what you're doing. It did take some furnace operations to make the glass beads initially, but if you want to get super eco-friendly about it, then I could say that these beads were made decades ago, many of which were, and I'm not exploiting any further any resources on the planet right now, if you're into that. I'm being a little sarcastic because, or hopefully humorously sarcastic, because so many times people intend to do the right thing, and by not consuming this and instead consuming something else and end up consuming way more than they intended to by doing the alternative consumption thing. So, but it is true that yes, beadwork is so low tech that you don't have to you don't have to bring artificial fire to anything. Um, it's it doesn't require a computer, although of course I am on a computer right now, broadcasting this to you, making this video. Um, it it doesn't, you can use metal beads, but you don't have to use up precious metals, rare minerals or whatever when you're doing it. Some beads, however, interestingly enough, are made with well, silica glass, but to get certain colors, you do have to use certain minerals. For example, now I'm diverging and going into bead history here. The color red requires actual real gold. So back in the day, they would use certain colors to get kind of a brick red, but if you wanted that really, really righteous, recognizable red, it had to use gold. They had to use gold in the glass formulas to create their bright red beads. So they did a couple different things. They would start with some white glass and then encase the white glass with red, and that would make it so that the whole thing didn't have to be red and it was less expensive to produce. Another thing they did was to simply not use as much and try to get away with it that way. But people can tell. You can tell from the color. And red, even in the ceramic tile world, red is so reactive, uh, sensitive to color, or excuse me, it's a color that's very sensitive to temperature, that it's very easy to screw up. So you can, it's supposed to turn out red and it turns out brown. So it's a tricky thing. So if you ever wonder why red paint on a car is more expensive than any other color, same principle applies. That is why. I think I will extend this. So I'm doing this in a somewhat free-form manner. This part down here is not free-form. Each stitch is 9 stitches, or 9 beads, excuse me. However, when I get to the end, that's when I decide whether I want to keep it the same length, make it longer, or make it shorter. I'm going to make it longer, so I can't use 9 beads. I have to use 3, 6, plus 9 is 15, 17. So 17 beads. You do have to, unless you want it completely freeform, and I do have some completely freeform netting pieces, you have to count sometimes. I tell my students sometimes, oh, don't count, just go for it. Sometimes you do that, want to do that, sometimes you don't. As long as it's by choice and not by compulsion, or by choice and not out of ignorance. Okay, 5, using this as an abacus. 10, 12, I need 5 more. Okay, let's see if that was right. So coming from here, it's the equivalent of coming from here, and 9 and 6 is 50, yeah, 17. Okay, that ought to do it. Oops, there we go. What I do, I have to turn around, skip one, otherwise they all fall off if I don't skip over one, because that one that I just sectioned out is my stopper bead that keeps them all from coming back off as I come back through. And then another 9, and that, I don't know, let's see. I'll find out. I could count again. I counted twice. I'll just go for it. I'm not gonna worry about it. And let's see. These beads that I'm using are from Czechia. They call it Czechia now, Czech Republic. Used to be known as Czechoslovakia. Um, and one more. And let's see. Okay, so I have to count 6 up from here and then merge, or 9 down. 9 from this end, there should be 6 left free and untrammeled, and 3 to go through. I'll know if I counted right if the part that I skip over is the same length as the part that I just strung. I brought up Czech Republic because it's been a bead making area for millennia. Not millennia, but many hundreds of years. I did count wrong. Let's see. Okay, I didn't skip. Okay, well, I'm wrong. Let's see here. There should be 6. Okay, well, we'll find out what the deal is. And 3 and 3, 6, And then, oh, okay. 3, 6 plus 9. Oh, okay. Well, what the hey? Let's see here. 5, 10. Oh, 15. Yeah, I strung way too many. You know why I'm letting you see me make mistakes? Because, yes, of course, vulnerability is trending and trendy, and it's very human to be human and all that fun stuff. It's also just to show you that it's not the end of the world when you screw up. Everything is redoable, or everything is fixable. I try not to rip out what I do too often, but when I want to keep it like this, yes. Okay, 6, 9. Let's see. Oh yeah, and 3. Okay. Well, I'll recount. Anyway, uh let's see, I'll diverge into another digression in a moment here. Okay, so that's 10, 15. Okay, I've got two too many still on there. Okay, 17 beads. Miscounted. This is my digression. I once wore a t-shirt of a band that I thought is great, called the Brain Surgeons, to class one day when I was teaching, because I wanted to emphasize the fact that with beading, if you make a mistake, nobody is going to bleed to death on the operating table. It's not brain surgery. It might be very delicate and require manual dexterity of a high degree. However, if you screw up, nothing is going to be wounded but your pride. So, what can I say? Um, and also, especially, and this is even more important than dealing with wounded pride, mistakes are opportunities, um, especially when dealing with things that, here we go, are more improvisational. And this is moderately improvisational, but when I get to the part where I am populating this piece with other beads like these, then I'm going to let my improvisational sense take over. And this is moderately improvisational. If you look closely, you'll see different colored beads here and there. Why? Because I can put different beads in there. I told myself it was okay. It's a choice that you make as an artist. So, um, so there is some mild improvisation here, but the populating of this with more, I'm going to do either more layers or something else. I'm not even sure yet, but I will let my imagination develop as I work, which is another fun thing about bead weaving, is that you have time to decide as you go. You can change your mind and get an inspiration from something as you work. And if you choose to change direction or add something in that you hadn't thought of all of a sudden, you can do that. It is forgiving that way. So speaking of forgiving, I hope you forgive my indulgence in just beating in front of you. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, let me know in the comments and forward this video to whoever you think might like it. And I'll see you next time.